Stellar Blade is finally here, but before jumping into Eve's journey, there are loads of settings you need to change and you don't want to miss any of them. Setting number 1 is under the gameplay tab and is to set auto loot items to on. With this off, you will end up missing a lot of loot as you have to press R2 each time you see something, and when you're focused on surviving in combat, making sure you pick up enemy drops just isn't your priority. Turning it on though will automatically pick things up for you when you're near them, which really helps make sure you don't miss anything when you're fighting or even just when you're exploring. Oh, and if you do find that this or any of the other settings I show help you out, please drop a like to say thanks, as well as consider subscribing to help me reach my goal of 100,000. I'd love to get there before summer, so I genuinely would really appreciate it. Anyway, whilst in the gameplay tab, I should also mention that you can change the length of Eve's ponytail to short instead of long, but that's obviously personal preference. And now, before you ask, you can't change the size of anything else. Moving on, the second setting is located near the bottom of the controls menu and is to disable auto lock-on when attacking. By default, whenever you engage with an enemy, the game forcefully locks you onto that specific enemy, so if you want to attack or parry someone else, you have to lock off first, which really slows you down. Disabling this setting gives you full control over who you're attacking and makes it easy to switch between enemies in a split second, further enhancing the fluidity of the gameplay. You can still lock onto enemies too, but you have to do it manually by pressing R3 in a similar way to how Final Fantasy works. Moving back up to the top of this same menu, you'll find setting number 3, which is to increase your sensitivity values. Yes, the default sensitivity does indeed feel more cinematic, but considering you'll frequently find yourself surrounded by enemies in Stellar Blade, it's essential that you're able to quickly turn around and defend yourself from all angles. For that, you need the higher sensitivity. Personally, I've settled on increasing both values to 3 as this feels super responsive while still being easily controllable, but I'd encourage you to experiment with this for yourself to find a value that best suits you. Now, for the next few settings, head on down to the display section and then you'll find the fourth setting, which is to reduce motion blur. Honestly, as both the balanced and performance graphics modes run at an almost perfect 60 FPS, you can reduce this all the way down to something in the 0 to 3 range. If you do turn it off completely, it shouldn't affect the game's smoothness at all in these 60 FPS modes and could actually result in a bit of a performance boost too. If you're playing in the resolution mode though, then do keep it set between 5 and 10, as it will make the lower 30 FPS appear a bit smoother to the eye. That said, I'd highly recommend switching over to the balanced mode anyway, as it just looks and feels excellent on all displays, and you really need the higher frame rate if you want to get good at perfect parries and dodges. Just bear in mind that motion blur is technically an accessibility setting, so if you turn it fully off and find yourself getting motion sick after a while, dial it back up just a little. Moving further down the menu, setting number 5 is located just below motion blur and is to reduce the camera shake value. Don't get me wrong, I love this effect for how it emphasizes large explosions or massive bits of rubble falling, and it's rarely something I do change as a result. But I find that it is extremely shaky when it's set to 10, so I've dialed it down to 5, and I would advise you to do the same. Now, the sixth setting is under the subtitles and language menu and is to toggle speaker name to on. I find this a must as it not only makes things clearer, but also helps you learn who characters are quicker. Oh, and you might also want to reduce the size of them so that they take up less screen space, but if you're anything like me, then none of this matters anyway, as I fully disable subtitles for total immersion. Are you the same? Let me know in the comments if you keep them on or off. I'm intrigued and I'll heart every comment that does that. Anyway, setting number 7 definitely does apply to everyone and is found in the interface section where you want to set HUD background to on. This adds a super subtle shadow effect behind the HUD, which makes the whole UI look a little cleaner in my opinion, as well as enhances its visibility. If you want to enhance your game's audio too, then you might be interested in the Pulse Elite headset, and you can see my full review of that by clicking the video on screen now, or click the one below it to see a full list of settings you need to change on your PS5 itself. Also, please don't forget to like the video if any of these settings helped, and subscribe to help me reach my goal of 100,000. I'd really appreciate it.